or so-called myth is all Aboriginal men are perpetrators. Can you talk about that?
Well, I mean, that's the perception, I mean, it's always about, Aboriginal people or Aboriginal men in particular being perpetrators of family domestic violence. And we know that's not true. We've done so much hard work over the years in educating our young men and older men about, being role models and standing up. And when it's right to say no, say no.
Sometimes government keep getting input from Aboriginal community controlled organization after all the decisions have been made. That's not acceptable. Aboriginal people are right in the front and center of every decision making.
I receive a lot of questions about how children end up going online and then there's predators asking for inappropriate things. It happens to anyone, no matter what age. There's a lot of dangerous things out there. It could be anywhere, and everyone has to stick together and look out for one another.
Lovely son. Good morning to you. So thank you for coming back and trusting the process, as I would say. And the conversations might become more difficult and challenging as we go across the day. Can I start with Oscar with you? And we've been talking about the role of men in understanding violence and educating the next generation of men and boys. And what does it mean to you to lead as a man a family violence service and within the culture?
Well, thanks for having me here today. It's good to be. And firstly, I just want to acknowledge the country that we're on, Wajak people, their elders, past, present, and emerging. And it's, like I was saying, it's good to be here. But I've been in the organisation now for 39 years and worked in Aboriginal affairs for about 40-odd years. So I've been around for a while. And I guess working in this space around the family violence prevention legal service is very important to me, and very important that we continue to make sure we pass a message on to our men and young people in particular that violence against men, against women and children is not acceptable. It's not part of our culture. And we continue to strive every day of the week. And we meet new challenges every day of the week in terms of being involved in ACO, one of the biggest Aboriginal organisations in the Noongar country. We face a lot of challenges over the years in terms of government changing the goalposts for us, and we've had to adjust. And I guess there's something that we learned over our journey as Noongar and Aboriginal people in general, that we got to adjust to the system that we were under. And I grew up on the reserve, and I know back then, and I was talking to my niece over the earlier, our days have changed now. Back in the day on the reserve days, there was a lot of caring and sharing among our people, and violence against women and children back then was not acceptable, and it's still not acceptable today. So, yeah.
Thank you, Oscar. Damaga, can I come to you? Just for a introduction on Damaga, she has been involved with AFP. They are writing a book on online safety, and Damaga is the artist for the front page of the book cover. The whole book. And there's so much conversations AFP has had with Damaga and the team with Sarah across. So that's why I think it's very crucial and critical to understand Damaga's story today. Can you tell me a bit more? How's life in living in TV Islands?
It's pretty small, very different to Perth. This is my first time in the Noongar country of WA. There are 3 communities on the island. There's Woodmiyanga, Perlingimpi, that's where I currently live, and Millakapri, known as Snake Bay in English. Yeah, so a lot of people there that I knew are football fans. They love their footies, and they always go out fishing, hunting. That's what we do in the life, and it depends the seasons because it change over times. Yeah, we only have 3 seasons. There's the hot seasons coming around October and dry season. It gets really cold after the burning and wet season, really, really rainy and lots of thunder and lightning. Yeah.
And living in a smaller community, and as a young girl, uh, when did you know that you were an artist?
That's a very good question. I've been as an artist for yeah, you're welcome. I'm very pleasured. But yeah, I started to do art when I was, I think, when I was 3 or 2, maybe. I used to live in Cairns, where my dad's from. He's a Torres Strait Islander from Mabuyag. And yeah, I started off with the sponge painting. It was very, very interesting. That's the first time I did my art at 3 years old, before my sister was born. And the sorry, I'll take my times. Um, Mid 2000s, I ended up moving to Tiwi Islands, where my mum's from her dad's side, and my great grandparents. Yeah, I've been on Tiwi Islands since then. It was pretty different to Torres Strait and Cairns. Yeah, it's a lot of different places around Australia. The good facts.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, Asha, can I come to you? How is it, when you're leading an Aboriginal control organization as a non-Aboriginal person? Um, how do you lead, and what leadership looks for you? And because First Nations leadership and governance is a tied conversation, or a tight conversation to be had. And perspective is very important. Empathy is very important. So how do you see that leading an Aboriginal controlled organization?
Thank you for this opportunity. I want to give a context, of the program that we run, Family Violence Prevention Legal Service Program. We've been running that since 2007, and we provide better access to justice system for Aboriginal victims of violence. And we have offices in Albany, Katanning, Narrogin, and Bunbury, and we have about 5 lawyers, community support officers, and counselors. And our table is right there. I want to give a huge shout out to our staff member who show up every day and do a complex work in the community. My responsibility as a non-Aboriginal CEO is to support and uphold Aboriginal leadership and not to replace it. At Southern Aboriginal Corporation, governance sit with our Aboriginal board, and community direction becomes our work. So my role is to ensure that the resources and partnership align to the vision of the community as such. This means for me listening deeply and creating space for Aboriginal leadership to thrive, and as well as doing broader system advocacy in supporting this Aboriginal-led decision making. And it's not easy, as we see that sometime government keep getting input from Aboriginal community controlled organization after all the decision have been made. That's not acceptable. So Aboriginal Corporation needs to lead the policy design and funding priorities from the beginning. And that's not happening. And now some of the organizations are using Aboriginal people as business, and that needs to stop. So my role is to make sure that Aboriginal people are right in the front and center of every decision making. And as a non-Aboriginal people, I'm an ally to the Aboriginal people.
Thank you. Thank you, Asha. Also, going to come to you. You talked about, violence is not acceptable was before, when you talked about reserves, and now as well. Um, when the system fails to understand cultural distinctions, and what happens with families on the ground and in the front line, because yes, there's a policy and a structure up there. How does it impact to the bottom line or the ground?
I think there's major impacts on the ground because in some locations we haven't got the support that's needed there. But I guess we're fortunate right across our region is that we've got good staff, good organisation that is able to support the wider community and make sure that a culturally appropriate service is delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the main things that when we're dealing with our people, we need to make sure that we deal with a lot of issues in terms of the cultural side as well. And so we're dealing with different aspects every day of the week, but it's about making sure that we deliver the right service for our mob.
Hmm.
But as mentioned already earlier, is about the KPIs. The KPIs always shift, and we're not part of the design as well of programs. So that affects how we deliver and how much service we can do.
Thank you, Oscar. Mm, Damaga, can I come to you? You've done those drawings for the AFP book, which will be launched nationally soon. Um, can you talk about that story, how it happened, how it started, how that came about?
So I was at work. It was a friend that suggested that I would love to join and do the illustration. So I take that opportunity. So I started with the watercolor in front of the paper. It takes time to dry up, and you have to do the second layer to make it really nice and colorful. And until then, maybe a few weeks later, they want me to do the whole illustrations to draw the characters and give them identity and their names.
And how did these inspirations and stories you were able to tell? Uh, do you have exposure to people and friends who are going through bad times?
Mm. Yeah. How? Okay. Sorry. There's a lot of words that I can pick, but it's hard to choose.
No, where did you get?
Yeah.
How do you get the inspiration of
Uh,
choosing the name of the character? You know,
yeah. I just like created it. I imagine,
like
and I create the imagination to come to life. Yeah. And
in,
yeah, I did them sketches,
Mhm.
and then I did like a couple of sketches, the original designs, and it just starts practicing, and it came out really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
and then you were getting constant feedback from the AFP and going back and forth, and they were giving you feedback in terms of what to be done and more of something.
Yes. Yeah, we always like talk through it. It's about the very great communication and our work together and our partnership.
Mhm.
And the journey is very, very hectic. And it took like a couple of weeks to get it. I have work, and then I gotta do art again. For I was working for 6 years since I was turning 20. And but the picture is nice and over. So hopefully in another 2 months the book will be launched soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Can you add a bit more context to the back and forth journey with AFP as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the AFP were hoping to collaborate with Tiwi College out at the Tiwi Islands, and once Demiga's art was shown, it was pretty hard to say that that this would become a shared project. And in the end, um, Demiga was asked to be the illustrator for the book. This is a book that will be launched in July, the end of July, and will go national, which is all around animals and characters. And having a conversation around education when it comes to online safety, and using puppets, and using the book to have really, really hard conversations with young people. But once Demiga's art was shown, it was very, very clear that there was no other artist that could compare. Truly, Demiga's artwork is absolutely extraordinary. And pretty quickly, the AFP, the head office, they realised what an absolute phenomenal artist Dem is. And Dem was flown into Darwin from the Tiwi Islands to have some really specific, dedicated time to uh, do more art. And a partnership was happened pretty quickly.
And can you also add a bit more context on the challenges of online safety with young people in that area, that geography?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is an AFP NSNT project officer who's based in the NT. I think there's only three. I might be talking out of turn, and I know people are watching online, so I'm so sorry if I've gotten that wrong. But for this officer to be based in the NT shows that we have an incredible amount of reports coming in about young people being exploited and a lot of issues with image based sharing and whatnot. So having this officer lead a project in this space is just phenomenal.
Mhm. Thank you. Um, Asha, can I come to you now on because I think that's a good example of how do we interact with indigenous communities and bring that art into a whole online safety book, which is used by uh, people of similar culture. Um, how do you see embedding culture through or cultural authority in a way when you deliver services through families and all your participants?
Okay, so it's about embedding cultural protocol. For me, like embedding cultural protocol means recognizing that kinship, the culture, and community knowledge are central to safety and healing. So for me, like community controlled and culture is in a mainstream system recognizing and stepping away and supporting Aboriginal community controlled organization and recognizing that they hold the knowledge and they are able to support Aboriginal people effectively. So pretty much it's about supporting the culture and continue to work.
Thank you. Also, can I come back to you? What do you think? Continuing from what Asha was talking about, uh, What does a genuine community-controlled organization like yours uh, trying to achieve, and what are the biggest roadblocks you're facing at this stage? Because you are in the front line, you are interacting with people who are either escaping violence or either involved in some form of violence. What are the biggest roadblocks?
Well, the roadblocks is, we keep on getting the goalpost moved from us. There's always programs set up and then there's always quickly removed. So there's challenges every day of the week, or not every day of the week, but every year, I guess there's new challenges for us as to, what we are expected to deliver.
Hmm.
Um, so there's always those challenges. But I guess at the end of the day, we could do what we can do. We've got good staff on board. We liaise continuously with our community, and we have community involvement through our elders reference groups and things like that there. And, we're talking about delivering our programs holistically, basically through, the artwork, and that gets people talking
Hmm.
and coming up with solutions. And I remember back when I was on the reserve as a young boy with my, Heidi. She's one of the greatest painters come out of Noongar country. And the landscapes she was doing, there's always stories to it. So there's meanings behind these um, the artwork, even today, what the ladies are doing. So it's about how you get the message out there.
Hmm.
Can I continue with that?
Please.
I just want to say, the continuous roadblock for us is, the government and funders are not listening to us. And the other thing is, Aboriginal people and Aboriginal organization do complex work and support vulnerable communities. But often the funding are like 1 year and 2 years. And if we continue to do that, we would be losing our workforce, and also we can't provide sustained service delivery. That's a roadblock for us. The other roadblock is working with mainstream organization. Sometime like we have to be a follower, we can't lead it, but there are really good organization like Amity Health. Pam is here, they want to listen to the voices of Aboriginal people and work with the Aboriginal community controlled organization. And if we have people who are genuinely supportive of Aboriginal leadership, and they have to invest in that.
Hmm. Oscar, can I ask a more twisted question? I had because it's people talk on the sides, but I want you to talk about, because the perception is, or the myth, or so-called myth is, all Aboriginal men are perpetrators. Can you talk about that? I thought it's a good opportunity for me to ask that question and put you in a corner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the perception, I mean, it's always about, Aboriginal people or Aboriginal men in particular being perpetrators of family domestic violence. And we know that's not true. We know that violence against women and children is a community thing. It's an holistic thing right across the board, and um, we face a stigma every day of the week, that Aboriginal men are all perpetrators. But again, like I was saying, we've done so much hard work over the years
Mhm.
and educating our young men and older men about, being role models and standing up. And when it's right to say no, say no, you know. I mean, that was taught way back on the reserve days. You don't stand back and let violence happen.
Mhm.
And so I don't, support the concept about, Aboriginal men being perpetrators alone. It's a community thing. And the whole community needs to address that issue.
Mhm. Can I take a question from Slido as well? I think Asha, you and or Oscar both can respond. The question is for non-Aboriginal organization, what are the factors they should consider when collaborating with Aboriginal controlled organizations to achieve best outcomes for individuals and communities?
Oh, thank you for that question. We get asked all the time. The first thing people need to understand, if the service delivery is for Aboriginal people, Aboriginal organization should be leading that. If there was a Aboriginal organization who are, like have got less experience, it's okay that they collaborate and as well as lead in the programs and service delivery, as long as they build the capacity of those Aboriginal corporation they are collaborating with. When it comes to Southern Aboriginal Corporation, like we have 42 years of experience, we have delivered many programs and services. We have expertise. We have proved time to time. When are we going to get recognized and rewarded? An organization like us, we are happy to lead and we are happy to collaborate with mainstream organization to bring that expertise, so long as they are happy to build our capacity in those skills that we don't have. For example, recently, late last year, we collaborated with Sirenian House, who are leading in alcohol and drug facility in Western Australia. Since 2016, we are advocating for establishing residential rehab for AOD use, given that Great Southern Region is the only region in WA which hasn't got residential rehab for AOD use. Since we've intensified advocacy in 2024 and made the state government to commit to service delivery in Great Southern Region, there is no capital funding. An organization like ourselves, we have invested in buying capital so that we are best placed to do a submission for a residential rehab. Now, Sirenian House, when we went to them, they welcomed us with both arms and they were very happy for us to lead, given that we are from Albany area and then we have been an ECHO for 42 years. And they have clinical expertise and clinical governance, which they want to build our capacity. So these are the examples that you can take and make sure that you collaborate with the Aboriginal community controlled organization and build their capacity, and it is vice versa, and also learn about cultural knowledge from the Aboriginal community controlled organization.
And thank you, Asha.
I think also, being respectful of one another and making sure that, our culture is not pushed at the back. That's important for us as an Aboriginal organisation. We want to make sure that, what happens in our organisation is culturally appropriate, but also, meeting the standards of the wider community as well.
Hmm. There's another one from Slido that I want to ask to you, Oscar. How to ensure safety of how to ensure safety of Aboriginal children when Department of Communities allows family slash cultural carers up to 12 children in one house.
Well, I guess it's a bit of a tricky one because, we've got our staff and solicitors working with families,
Hmm.
and that's a priority for us as well to make sure that, the children are safe. And if they're not going to be safe
Hmm.
going into an environment, we're going to say it's not safe.
Yeah.
So we're going to speak up and make sure that, the children are the main ones in this area that is protected.
Hmm. Hmm.
And some of them, like we have Aboriginal community controlled organization who are leading when it comes to foster caring and out of home care, and they bring that cultural appropriateness. And we have advocate like Pam, who's a counselor, and she works really hard in that system and making sure that the women and children are safe. And our lawyers work in care and protection matter and making sure that they are reunited with the family.
Can I also ask you to do a call to action here in terms of what are the gaps you're seeing in terms of skill set? Because you said that you know you want partnership which brings knowledge and learning from other organizations to your organizations. So, what do you think? What do you see current gaps in Great Southern region, and what skill sets you would want to acquire through mutual partnerships and collaborations?
I mean, we have got many expertise when it comes to child protection, family law, housing and homelessness, mental health, and employment. Pretty much we have expertise. AOD is something that we are lacking in, and that expertise we will going to bring through Sirenian House, and also some of those health programs that we work, in collaboration with Amity Health, who are an ally for Aboriginal community controlled organization. But my call out is, that don't think that Aboriginal community controlled organization are inferior. We got systems in place. We got accreditation as a community legal center. We have got registration as a community housing provider. So we've got unqualified audit. We got good governance and financial management. So we are not inadequate in anything. So you can work with us. You can be a partner with us. We want that genuine partnership when it comes to working with us and providing that better outcomes for Aboriginal people.
Last question for Oscar to you is uh, there are practitioners across all sectors here and across different organizations and services. Um, what's your ask of everybody who are, whether working in ACO or not working in ACO, which is Aboriginal Controlled Organization? What's your ask what they should be doing things differently in the next week, in the coming months to go to be more understanding of things on your from your point of view?
I think the main thing is working alongside of us, working with us and working alongside of us, because that's where we make the big impact, is working together. We know the community, there's a big community issue out there and we all need to work together. It's not just left to one section of the community. It's got to be an whole, everyone's got to be in on the same thing.
Thank you. Damaga, last one. Uh, what are you expecting when the book comes out?
Uh,
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit nervous actually because it's my first time traveling because I created artwork. Um, I receive a lot of questions about how children like end up going online and then there's predators asking for inappropriate things. It's not just that. It's just it happens to anyone, like no matter what age. Even people that are around my parents' age or older don't have experience with the internet, and they usually get catfish and scammed. It's similar to that. I mean, everybody around, no matter what, both gender. Yeah.
And I should have do a follow up. What do you want your fellow young people to think about when they go online? What are
It's weird that they have to be taught about many dangers on the internet from their parents and their guardians. Because there's a lot of dangerous things out there. It could be anywhere, and everyone has to stick together and look out for one another.
Thank you. That's a lovely closing note on which I think we should conclude the panel. Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists. So nice to hear from Demiga's perspective there. We hadn't even really touched on the online safety, had we yet, of children. So to really to hone in on that, and we're all looking forward to the release of Demiga's book.